this idea doesn't originate with Augustine. Augustine rather is testifying to the biblical and early Christian understanding of Christ being what he calls anthropologically normative. What this means is that to understand the human person, we must first look to the one person whom God uniquely intends, the man Jesus. It is Jesus who is the true human for the early Christians. And if we are to be as we ought be, then we must become like Christ. The understanding then that we are not naturally like Christ is an understanding that tells us that we are enslaved, that we are entrapped within our natural fallen selves. This is an understanding which we associate very clearly with the letters of St. Paul. St. Paul's core understanding of the relationship with Christ is a transformative one. It moves us from being blind to being capable of seeing. Because for St. Paul, for the early Christians, and later on for Augustine, the human being without Jesus Christ is limited, unfree, grounded. For St. Paul, no one proclaims that Jesus is Lord except by the power of the Holy Spirit. This echoes a point we made earlier on in the series, wherein our relationship with Christ does not keep us separate, but by the power of the Holy Spirit involves an ontological relationship with Jesus Christ. This alters us, it changes us, it brings about a transformation in the very stuff we are. Therefore, if without Christ we are grounded, with Christ we can begin to imagine entirely new locations. And in many ways, this is the full radicality of this position that we find in Paul and we see later on in Augustine. The relationship with Christ radically alters us. It transforms us. It changes us from being one kind of thing without Christ to being an entirely different kind of thing with Christ. And this brings us back to Augustine's homily. It is not natural for Augustine to turn the other cheek or to give to the poor, because in his natural state he is grounded, he is on a leash of his own selfishness. Only in relationship to Christ can he do what he is called to do. And this is why he feels that Pelagius is wrong. We can't bring about the change in the world, we can't do the good we are called to do by ourselves. We must first be transformed in relationship with Christ by the power of the Holy Spirit. Apart from Christ, for Augustine, we can only be enslaved to our drives. We can only be leashed to societal norms. But in relationship with Christ, inspired by the Holy Spirit, we can begin to soar.